Pensioner Eve Warlow passed her driving test in her final year at school. She's been driving for more than 50 years. She's only had one parking ticket in all that time, until now.
I was down at my son's dropping something off for my grandchildren, and when I came down from his flat, I had a ticket, but my car has got a permit, only it slipped down the dashboard and couldn't be seen.
Fair enough to ticket her. Her permit was out of view. But Eve reckoned it would be easy to remedy the mishap.
So we obviously thought, well, we'd just ring everyone up, the company, or email them and get in touch with the management and tell them, and it'll be put aside. Common sense, really.
The parking firm wouldn't cancel Eve's ticket. If it quashed Eve's charge, it said it would have to waive many more, therefore making the entire parking scheme redundant.
Now, a lot of people think that if you ignore a parking ticket, it'll simply go away. Well, I hate to tell you, but you ignore a parking ticket at your peril. Thousands of motorists are being taken to court each year, and if you choose to turn a blind eye to the process, you could end up with a credit record blighted for the next 6 years.
So Eve's off to court for her date with justice. And the stakes are high. The fee's gone up from an initial £60 to £200, including costs.
Really, for about 8 months or so of this last year, I feel all I've done is try to learn about these cases and how you fight them.
The hearing lasts 3 hours. And unfortunately for Eve, the court agrees with the parking company that she's required to have her permit on show at all times. She's lost the case and is £200 the poorer for it.
The judge listened to everything and asked a few questions, but of course the other side know what they're doing. It's a person who does this for a living. I had to dig around a little bit to find my paperwork. There was so much of it, it's getting lost.
There are now a record 30 million cars on Britain's roads. There are fewer and fewer places for motorists to park for free. And that's meant healthy profits for private parking management companies. Some feel there are plenty of tickets being handed out for relatively minor wrongdoing.
We get lots of complaints from pensioners, from disabled people, from nurses, and often they've really done nothing wrong. The ticket may have dropped off the dashboard, they may have parked touching a white line, and yet they still get penalised.
Bob Close got a ticket while on holiday. He'd parked touching a white line.
We were in Blackpool for my dad's 60th birthday. When we came to leave, found out we'd been given a £100 parking ticket. I was parked at the end of the car park, so nothing could have parked to my left side anyway. There was litter behind the car, broken glass, so I was aware that I needed to park in a certain way to avoid that, and the spaces were very small as well.
Bob was chased for a year by the parking company and 2 debt collection agencies. He was eventually sent court papers. The penalty had gone up to £170. But Bob still refused to back down, and the case was withdrawn before it got to court.
As far as I'm concerned, these kind of parking companies are there to threaten people and to try and squeeze money out of them by using scare tactics.
Motoring experts argue that some parking companies are well aware that, unlike Bob, a lot of drivers will just pay up even if they feel the ticket's unfair, especially if they're faced with a potential court appearance.
Well, we certainly know of some parking companies that have actually said to their attendants, target the elderly, target the disabled, and the reason being they are more likely to pay up. The director of one company has actually said to me privately, yes, we give out as many tickets as possible because we know about 70% will pay them. So, you know, they're trying it on. It's money for nothing.
The services of the private parking industry have spread far and wide. Shopping centres, supermarkets, railway stations, but nowhere more controversial than NHS hospitals. Nurse Sophie Openshaw is one of dozens of staff at University Hospital Wales, ticketed by international parking firm Indigo.
You've just worked that 12-and-a-half-hour shift for saving people's lives, and there's a big yellow ticket for parking in a hospital to do your job, basically.
For Sophie, it all started when she crashed her car and it was sent to the crushers, along with her hospital parking permit.
I informed the car park security people and my manager said then she'd write an email to apply for a new one.
Months went by and she never received a new permit, but she did start getting parking tickets.
Every time I was working a shift, I was receiving tickets, especially on a night shift. The car park security said, oh, we'll write a little note on the system to say, obviously, you're still waiting and not to issue tickets. He said, but if you receive tickets, just ignore them.
Then she got a lawyer's letter saying she owed £642 outstanding fees for non-payment of parking tickets.
At the time, me and my partner were looking to move house, so I was obviously quite, distraught about this, thinking this is going to ruin my chance of being able to move house and for other things in the future.
Despite feeling it was a complete injustice, she paid up.
Working as a nurse isn't exactly the easiest job in the world. It's quite stressful, and to have this thrown at you on top of everything else, you just feel like, why did I do this? Why have I gone and worked in this hospital?
Sophie has now got a job at a new hospital with free parking, but she owes yet more parking penalties relating to her old employers, as she found out in a phone call.
So I said, how much do I owe altogether? And they said between £2 and £3 grand, roughly. I just had a massive meltdown. I was shouting, I was screaming, I was crying, because I just thought this is just so unfair on me. Like, I'm trying to do a job and I'm being punished for parking at the hospital, basically.
Indigo says it's made numerous attempts to resolve the issue, but that Sophie hasn't responded. Sophie claims her last contact was a letter from them in March saying her tickets were being reviewed, and she's now waiting for the result of that. Indigo disputes any member of staff would have told her to ignore the parking tickets. Last month, in a separate dispute, a Cardiff court ruled the company could collect thousands in unpaid parking fines from other hospital staff who lost a test case against them. Now, how do car parking companies get hold of the names and addresses of motorists in the first place? Well, it may surprise you that all they need is your car number plate details and the help of the Driver Vehicle and Licensing Agency. Members of Parliament discussed the relationship between the DVLA and some of the private parking companies in a recent debate.
The reality for far too many motorists up and down the country is people are duped into false charges and harassed by firms who manage somehow to get hold of their personal information.
In 2012, the government banned wheel clamping on private land. That was welcomed by motoring organisations. But now there are worries about the sheer quantity of drivers' details that the DVLA is handing over, perfectly legally, to private parking firms.
We've had a number of concerns about the private parking sector for some time now, fuelled in large part by the very large number of vehicle keeper records that are being sought from the DVLA. We think that this year that number is going to hit a record level, approaching 5 million instances. And when that number is running as it is, at something like 10 times the figure 10 years ago, we think that's an indication that something, somewhere in the system, is going wrong.
The truth is, private parking contracts, even when they're fair and proper, can be very lucrative, especially when you ticket a lot of motorists. A private parking ticket is now handed out on average every 7 seconds. It often comes with a £60 charge, rising to £100 unless you pay quickly. But the landlord of this small car park in Abingdon, Oxfordshire, found out the hard way that things can go very wrong. It's now gone back to a simpler parking system. But not so long ago, its 50 spaces generated a huge £55,000 turnover in 7 months and caused a whole load of problems for landlord James Coxeter.
So this is the car park then that's caused you so many headaches?
It is, yes, it is.
So what was the problem originally?
Well, it's in the town centre and people park here and just wander off.
So what did you think would be the solution?
Well, we needed some sort of enforcement put in place so that our genuine customers could park.
The retail estate serves 13 different businesses. Being able to park for free is what brings in the trade. So James enlisted UK Car Park Management of Lancing, West Sussex, to ticket only motorists who weren't customers. They installed new signage and an automatic number plate recognition camera to fix the problem.
When it first went live, it just went haywire. I got a ticket, all the directors got tickets, every single tenant here got a ticket. Hundreds and hundreds of tickets were issued.
You obviously originally thought you were hiring a parking management company.
Yes, to manage our site, yeah.
And what do you feel you ended up with?
A company that have come in trying to milk as much money as they possibly can off the site with a complete disregard to our wishes.
The parking company disputes that, but altogether, more than 3,000 tickets were issued in 7 months.
And what kind of reaction have you had from your genuine customers who've been sent tickets?
I mean, some of our tenants have had customers coming in tears. People believe that they get a ticket in the post, they don't pay it, the bailiffs knock on their door the next day.
James and the parking firm parted company by mutual consent.
There's a conflict here. We wanted a car parking company to manage our car park effectively and only issue tickets to the correct people. Their model appears to be that they want to ticket as many people as they possibly can.
After being contacted by the Tonight programme, UK Car Park Management says, as a matter of goodwill, it has now cancelled all outstanding tickets. The company also told us,
"We are dedicated to finding the best method of effectively managing land. We work to protect landowners' interests and provide good facilities to users of the land. Ultimately, it's the client who decides the level of enforcement and its method."
Here's one man who reckons he knows some of the tricks of the trade. Tony Taylor was a parking warden for 2 years and now runs a website helping motorists to fight unfair tickets.
The more tickets you issue, the more money the private parking company can make.
All companies operate on the basis that they require a reasonable profit. That's the way of the world.
They have expectations of each car park. They would say to their warden, right, we require 1,000 tickets a month. And if them figures fall, head office would contact the team leader, motivate your wardens, we want more tickets. One text was, Christmas is coming, give them sites a banging for your Christmas bonuses. That means issue as many tickets as possible because Christmas is coming and you can increase your bonus.
Tony thinks some in the parking industry take it too far. One of the alleged tricks he's heard employed by rogue wardens is nicknamed ghost ticketing.
You would put the parking ticket onto the vehicle, you would take the photographic evidence, and then you would remove that parking ticket.
And the motorist has no idea till they get a letter through the door chasing payment.
That's the first the motorist will find out that he had a parking ticket from over a month ago. Then he says, well, I didn't have a ticket on my car. And suddenly they'll produce photographic evidence of the ticket on the car.
By then, it's much more difficult to prove they haven't contravened the rules. They may have thrown away their parking receipt, and they've potentially lost the discount for early payment. Because ghost ticketing occurs under a company's radar, it's impossible to know how widespread it is. Here's one company that is upfront about incentives it offers parking wardens who issue as many correctly administered tickets as possible.
The way we operate.
This video from UKPC details a new bonus scheme introduced earlier this year.
Each parking attendant will be their own profit centre. The amount you earn will depend on you. The smarter and harder you work, the more you will earn.
We showed it to AA President Edmund King, who has strong views.
Under the new profit share scheme, your earnings could rise to £19,940.44, a considerable increase.
Well, I think parking should be about regulating traffic, freeing up places, making sure people don't park for too long. And I've got to say, this video actually telling the parking attendants themselves that they are a profit centre and that they can get big bonuses by giving out more tickets is frankly outrageous, because that does encourage bad practice. If there's a marginal ticket, the parking attendant is more likely to give the ticket if it affects their wages.
Working closely with us.
But UKPC said the scheme was not based on the number of parking tickets issued and released this statement.
We have safeguards against malpractice, and as a result of the introduction of our profit share scheme, there has been a 21% reduction in errors relating to the issue of parking charges.
Now, the role of parking companies is important. They can ensure fairness, help traffic flow, provide for well-managed parking. If you get a ticket, you can appeal it through one of the 2 car parking associations. And of course, if you're still in dispute, you can always have your day in court. So what's the worst that can happen? Well, in Christian Hancock's case, he lost the roof over his family's head.
So we'd found the house that we wanted to move to. We'd been approved on the mortgage, so we didn't see a problem with it. Our chain now fell through, which delayed things. Then we found out that our mortgage offer had expired and it lasted 30 days. So we thought, no problem, we'll just reapply, redo it. So we did this and it got refused.
By which point we'd exchanged on our sale.
I'd exchanged.
So we couldn't legally retract our sale. We had to see it through.
Yeah.
And when you found your mortgage application had been declined after being approved a short time before, what did you think?
Couldn't understand why.
I thought there'd been a mistake, to be honest.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a car they had sold had picked up a parking ticket under its new owner.
So just to be clear then, you were blissfully unaware of all this until your mortgage fell through because you had a county court judgment against you.
Yeah.
Christian had forgotten to put the date of sale on the vehicle registration document he sent to the DVLA. So when the parking firm went to the DVLA shortly after the sale, the car was still registered in his name. The facts get disputed here. The parking firm says it sent 4 letters to Christian about the parking ticket. Christian says he received none of them. But the consequences for the Hancocks were severe.
The house that we were going to buy before we discovered the CCJ was a renovation project. We were going to make it our forever home, weren't we?
Yeah, it was.
And the lady, she was patient for 4 to 6 weeks, something like that. And then she was like, I'm really sorry, I can't hold on any longer, otherwise I'm going to lose my house, which we completely understand. So she had to put the house back on the market and it sold before we had a chance to solve everything.
The Hancocks had sold their old house but were unable to buy the new one. They had to spend months living out of a suitcase, relying on the goodwill of family and friends.
I had the whole summer holidays of staying with relatives and all of us in one bedroom and living out of bags and boxes and paying for all of our things to be in storage.
The family has now moved into a new home. The couple reckon the wrangle cost them thousands, though they're now trying to put it behind them. There are 2 trade bodies representing the industry: the British Parking Association and the International Parking Community. Being an approved member of either organisation allows companies to apply to the DVLA for your name and address if they've given you a parking ticket. Will Hurley speaks for the International Parking Community.
Some private companies pull out all the stops to get their money. They send legal letters, they put them onto debt collection agencies. Is that appropriate?
Unfortunately, the industry has faced motorists for years throwing these tickets in the bin and then continuing to abuse the parking and the land. So operators have been forced to essentially show that these are legitimate tickets. There is a deterrent effect of these parking tickets, and the reality is businesses and landowners will want to make sure that motorists who do continually breach terms and conditions are deterred from doing it again in the future.
The AA even reckon that some companies target those who are most likely to pay up, like the elderly, the disabled. What would you say to that?
It's quite the opposite. Car park operators often provide disabled bays or parent and child bays.
Everything you say sounds perfectly reasonable, but the truth is the motorists aren't happy.
We will continue and strive to make sure that standards are raised, and if there are complaints, by all means motorists should let us know and we will deal with them properly. But fairness has to have that balance between doing what's right for the landowner and doing what's right for the motorist.
So what do you do if you get an unfair parking ticket? James Walker is a consumer champion. He reckons to have saved thousands of consumers millions of pounds. He's an expert on parking tickets.
It's an industry where there is very little regulation and yet a lot of money can be made.
This is his advice.
First thing is get as much evidence as you can. So, do you have some photos that you could take? Is there any witnesses? I've taken private parking tickets and fought them on the basis of insufficient signage, for example. Of being able to say, actually, I got there, I left the car park, I didn't even see a sign. Gather the information, make sure that you put your feelings in writing to the organisation, and make sure that you focus on whether it was fair and reasonable.
Thousands of court letters a week are sent out to motorists who haven't paid tickets.
There's very little effort that private parking firms need to make to send out legal letters and to send out court proceedings against you. So the situation is in their favour. If you believe that you're in the right and actually you've been treated unfairly and you have the time to prepare correctly, go to court because you'll cost them time, effort and money. You should stand up for your rights and make sure that actually justice is done in your favour.
In a statement, the government says it wants to clamp down on aggressive parking enforcement and excessive parking charges. And it adds that private parking companies using DVLA data are bound by strict rules. Now, if you'd like more information on tonight's programme, please visit our website at itv.com/tonight. In the meantime, good evening and thanks for watching.
Coming up next week, sunshine, friend or foe? Is a suntan safe?
Now, there are lots of warnings about the dangers of the sun. Do you listen to them?
No, because I enjoy sunbathing that much.